What's going on, everyone? The NFL is back. Opening day this Thursday as our very own Detroit Lions travel on the road to face off against the Kansas City Chiefs. I am Matt Kowalis. Some of you know me from the Facebook group Detroit Sports Bettors, which is all things sports gambling. Some of you know me from the content that I create with SportsMemo and WagerTalk, the FanDuel Sportsbook show that I was doing with Mike Sullivan, and now the radio show X's and Bros with Anthony Bellino, where I'm featured every single Monday at 8:20 a.m. On that radio show, I'll put that right here in case you do want to check it out, because I will be breaking down every single Monday Night Football matchup, giving you actionable information heading into that game, and then, of course, a couple picks and plays of my own. In addition to that, I will be breaking down all things Detroit Lions every single Monday, talking about the past game, whether it be Sunday, Thursday, anything like that, and what I think is going to be happening in the upcoming week. As for this video, we are going to be breaking down highlight matchups, which is Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, most likely Thursday Night Football because you need a little time to get the video going. And then, of course, I will have another video out, which will break down the entire Sunday slate, giving you my top 3 to 5 plays heading into that slate. Okay, now let's get right into this video because I did have to redo it after the Travis Kelce news. You know, this was a spread, which was at 7.5 all summer long, slowly came down to 6.5. And then after the Travis Kelce news yesterday, he did hyperextend his knee. He's questionable going into the Thursday night matchup. And for a team like the Kansas City Chiefs coming off of a Super Bowl, how important a player like Travis Kelce is to that team, I believe they're going to proceed with caution. You know, I could definitely picture him still suiting up, getting in some packages, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him limited. And that's why this spread has come down from 6.5 to 4.5 now. Okay. Now, when you take a look at this Kansas City Chiefs team, you know, all summer long, I like this line spread, the 7.5, the 6.5. I still like it at that 4.5. You know why? Because this Kansas City Chiefs team is a squad. Yes, they are the Super Bowl winners, but they played down to their opponent very often. And I don't want to say playing down to the Detroit Lions because the Lions are a great team. You know, they have a lot of momentum coming into this year. I think they have a lot to prove. In addition to that, you know, this is when it comes down to the Chiefs versus the Lions, who has more to prove in this game? It's the Detroit Lions. So I think they are the more motivated team here. But when you take a look at this Kansas City Chiefs team, in 8 of their 17 games in 2022, they were decided by 4 points or less. So again, this Chiefs team likes to hang close with a lot of their opponents. So because of that, I am still with the Detroit Lions and the 4.5. Now, when you look at this total was at 54.5. And now with the Travis Kelce news, it has come down to 52. You know, this is a play that I don't really have a great feel on. Because it's kind of like if Travis Kelce doesn't play, you're wondering what the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do. What is their strategy? And to me, it might be running the football more with Pacheco. And I say that just because of the fact that without Kelce, you have Sky Moore, you have Kadarius Toney, you have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you have Rashee Rice, you have Noah Gray sliding into that tight end spot. So yeah, and if you're someone fantasy and Kelce went down and you're in a deep fantasy league and you need a tight end, Noah Gray might be a solid plug and play because he is someone who can come in, get a couple grabs, maybe a touchdown, stuff like that. Because when you look at it, guys like Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, they're pretty small in terms of wideouts. So, and again, they don't have that proven guy who is going to gobble up all those targets, gobble up all those receptions. So to me, it might be more of a Pacheco and a McKinnon type game, if indeed that is what occurs with Travis Kelce. So for me, I'm going to avoid that total, but I might be leaning under if I were to go anywhere. Like the spread play a lot more. But some plays that I do like, I want to give you guys a couple player props in this game, and we're going to start with Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, Jahmyr Gibbs is someone who is a rookie on the Detroit Lions, coming from Alabama, a running back, but I think he's going to play a lot more than just running back for this team. And the reason that I like Gibbs in this spot is because he is taking the position of DeAndre Swift, and I expect him to outperform even what DeAndre Swift did last year. And, you know, when you take a look at DeAndre Swift, and that's kind of who we have to compare to in this spot, but when you look at DeAndre Swift, in 6 of 14 games last year, he went over the 3.5 reception mark, which is the mark that Jahmyr Gibbs is at. His over-under is at 3.5 receptions coming into this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And if DeAndre Swift can go over that in 6 of 14 games, I expect the exact same for Jahmyr Gibbs. Not only in the running back position, but out of the slot position as well. I think they are going to try their very best to get Jahmyr Gibbs out in space so he can make plays. That's where he's at his best. Okay, so for me, I think this 3.5 reception line is going to grow. as the season progresses as well. So I think this is a prop line that you're going to want to take advantage earlier rather than later. This is a really talented kid outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. This team doesn't have a lot of weapons and guys that they want to get out in space. Okay, like Josh Reynolds and Marvin Jones and stuff like that. They want to get it in the hands of their playmakers, and I think that's Jahmyr Gibbs. So I like this over 3.5 reception line here. It's one of my favorite player props of the week. Now, moving on to the next player prop that I'm looking at, and it's actually going to be the other guy, the counterpart to Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's going to be David Montgomery. Okay, David Montgomery's touchdown line on DraftKings Sportsbook right now is plus 110. Really like those odds because obviously, once again, it's kind of a similar situation to Jahmyr Gibbs and DeAndre Swift. David Montgomery is coming in and taking that spot of Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams had 17 touchdowns last year, 16 rushing touchdowns, and someone has to fill that void, and I think that's going to be I think that's going to be David Montgomery. When you look at this a little further too, Jamal Williams and the Detroit Lions led the league in opportunities within the 10-yard line. So rushing attempts within the 10-yard line. So the Detroit Lions and Jamal Williams actually had 3.5 attempts per game from within the 10-yard line. So again, that is a lot of opportunity. And I would guess that a lot of those are within the 5 on top of that. So now David Montgomery is coming in. If you're going to give any running back 3.5 opportunities from within the 5-yard line, I feel pretty good about that. And that's a plus 110 price tag. At the end of last year, Jamal Williams, his number was closer to minus 200 because, again, 16 rushing touchdowns throughout the entire year. I don't think it's that far off to think David Montgomery, maybe not 16 or 17, but I think you can get 10, then you can get 12. And I think a great spot to start is this Kansas City Chiefs team, who is most likely, well, I should say they are going to be without Chris Jones because Chris Jones, that contract negotiation has not progressed at all. I believe he's going to sit out in this spot. And what does that do? That completely opens up the middle for our very own Detroit Lions. So again, guys, those are the two props that I want to give you. Jahmyr Gibbs, over 3.5 receptions. David Montgomery, touchdown, anytime touchdown, plus 110, another great odds play. This is also a guy who he had 5 touchdowns last year with the Bears, 4 yards per carry, and they had one of the worst lines in the entire league. Detroit Lions, completely different. This Detroit Lions team has a top 5 offensive line, and now they're going against a team who's going to be missing potentially the best defensive tackle or one of the best defensive tackles in the entire NFL. I think Montgomery's in line for a touchdown. I love the odds here. So again, guys, to go over those plays one more time, I really like the Detroit Lions, plus 4.5 in this spot. Again, Kansas City Chiefs had games within 4 points in 8 out of 17 weeks last year. Love Jahmyr Gibbs, 3.5 receptions here. I think a great line to do that. Again, another point, I don't know if they'll be down against the Chiefs, really, now that Travis Kelce is out. Obviously, still could happen. You're going against Patrick Mahomes, going against Andy Reid, incredibly talented, going to Arrowhead. Going to be a great game, man. So even if they are playing behind, though, this is almost a good hedge as well, because if they're playing from behind, Gibbs is going to get a lot of looks, a lot of targets out of that backfield. And then lastly, of course, David Montgomery, anytime touchdown, plus 110. Hey, NFL is back, y'all. These videos are back. Let's try and start hot. Again, I am Matt Kowalis. Follow me on Twitter. I do a ton of picks and plays over on Twitter. I do same-game parlays, a little bit of everything. Also have my Patreon if you ever want to check that out. So again, guys, appreciate you tuning into the video. Week 1 tomorrow, this Thursday, and I'm going to have the Sunday slate breakdown probably out tomorrow as well. So let's get it this season. Week 1 is here. Appreciate you tuning in. I am Matt Kowalis, and I am out, y'all. Have a good one. See you soon.